this program isn't meant to take the place of a certified first aid course. There's a lot more to first aid than what we're going to cover in the short video. But what it is meant to do is serve as a reminder of some of the key points of first aid. First aid and knowing what to do and knowing what not to do can greatly reduce the extent of a person's injuries, and it can also save a life. This video won't make you into a nurse, an EMT, or a paramedic, but what it will do is show you what to do. In a few emergency situations, it'll show you what to do until the proper help arrives. I strongly suggest everyone watching take a first aid course from a recognized agency. Hi, my name is Martin Lesperance, and I'm your first aid trainer for today. Today what I'm going to do is share with you some of the experiences and some of the tips I've learned after 25 years working in emergency services. Now you'll notice today most of the training will take place at the work site, but it's important to remember you would use the same techniques if someone was injured at home or anywhere else. The most important concern you have when dealing with any emergency situation is not to become a victim yourself. In many cases, people have rushed in to assist an injured person and they ended up getting injured themselves. Many of these people ended up dying. So if you ever come across an emergency situation, before you rush in, stop, take a good look around, assess the scene for dangers, look for hazards such as down power lines, rotating machine parts, traffic, and other similar dangers. Control those hazards if you can, and in some cases it may be too dangerous for you to attempt to help this person. But only when it's safe to do so should you attempt to approach an injured person. People make mistakes when they start thinking with their emotions. When people think with their emotions, they can make deadly mistakes. Now, dealing with sick and injured people, it can lead to other problems. One of the things we're very concerned about is disease transmission, because diseases can be transmitted through bodily fluids such as blood and saliva. So a few things we can use to protect ourselves are gloves and barrier devices. Now let me show you how to use these. For the gloves, we're going to just put them on like we would any other gloves. And they should fit quite snug. And for the barrier device, most of them have instructions on them. But for this one, we're going to lay it over the person's face, and we're going to have this one-way valve over the person's mouth. And this will allow us to pinch the nose and to give her ventilations through this valve. And this is going to greatly reduce the chance of disease transmission. Now when you're finished with the gloves, you can take them like this and just turn them inside out to avoid exposing yourself to any saliva or blood. Then we're going to dispose of them according to your company's rules for biohazardous material. Or you can always give them to the paramedics when they arrive. And always, always, after performing first aid, wash your hands thoroughly with soap and water. Now, some injuries can be quite disturbing to look at. And here's one thing I learned when I first started as a paramedic. Before I rushed in to help a person, what I would always do is I would stop and I would kind of just mentally prepare myself. I would think to myself, okay, this could be quite messy. What do I have to do? Airway, breathing, circulation. And then I would approach the person. Now, in reality, it only takes like a couple seconds, and it's not going to make the difference between life and death. But what it does do, it mentally prepares myself for what I'm about to see and for what I'm about to do. Now, for the person who is unresponsive, this is what we should be doing according to the latest CPR guidelines. Now, many of you have probably taken first aid in the past, but lately there have been some major changes. So this is what we want you to do now. If you discover an unconscious person, assess the scene for hazards before approaching the person. And when it's safe to do so, approach them and establish unresponsive.